Okay, what's up, y'all? Welcome in to Whiskey and Wine. LSU. What's the final score of this fucking game? Excuse me. 17-13. LSU. I've been doing good, not cursing too. LSU loses the regular season finale to Oklahoma 17-13. Tigers fall to 7-5 on the season. But I know all y'all really want to talk about this Kiffin watch. I'm going to pour a little Midwinter Night's Dram. This is Act 6, Scene 5. One of my favorite bottles of the year annually. It's like Christmas in a bottle. You ever get a chance to score you a Midwinter Night Dram, get it. 10 out of 10. Full support of it. All right, y'all. Thanks for being here with us. Busy day. I'll tell you what I know with the Kiffin situation up to the moment, and what I'm anticipating happening here this evening and tomorrow and all this sort of stuff, as all of this, of course, is very fluid. Do me a favor, please smash the like button if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Go ahead and light up my Bocock Brothers premium cigar. By the way, shout out to Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. Use the code. Go to the website, bocockbrothers.com, bocockbrothers.com. Use the code MATT15, MATT15. Get 15% off your order. All right. So we'll do the game first, and then we'll get into all the Kiffin stuff that I know everybody's interested in, probably more interested in than any of this. So we'll get into all that. Let's see. Oklahoma 17, LSU 13. Sorry. There we go. All right. I'm getting the scroll. Sorry, there we got the scroll ready. Okay. All right. Good evening, everybody. Cheers. Welcome in. LSU loses 17-13. Appreciate y'all for hanging. This game was pretty much atrocious. Hat tip to the Tigers for fighting. At the start of the third quarter, I tweeted this at the start of the fourth quarter. LSU had start of the fourth quarter, LSU had 118 yards of offense, 83 rush, 35 pass, and I think half of those passing yards were actually from a receiver. Defense did every damn thing they could do. Hat tip to Blake Baker and the defense for playing their behinds off all season, despite having zero form of complimentary football. One of the worst offenses any of us have ever seen in the history of LSU football. And Blake Baker's squad played the interception by Perkins there on the opening drive defensively on the batted ball by Patrick Payton. First play, Van Buren with the interception. Anybody who cares to still stump for Michael Van Buren, I'm not sure I even want to hear your argument anymore. DJ Pickett, AJ Halsey with interceptions in the second half. Beautiful play design on the Xavier touchdown to go up 10-3, but two big plays let you down. You gave up a 45-yard and 58-yard touchdown. But to go on the road to Norman, with that team, number 8 in the country, everything they had on the line in this ball game, playing for a playoff spot, and to battle that way, I'm not sitting here talking about a moral victory. I mean, credit Frank Wilson for getting his guys ready to play, because there's some teams that have flat out quit under their interim coaches. Kentucky flat out quit, got rolled today by Louisville. We've seen Florida flat out quit. We have seen a lot of teams flat out quit. Frank Wilson got these guys to play. They played hard for him. They're just not good enough offensively. It's bottom line. I mean, you were on the road in a miserable weather day where it was cold and windy, and your offense isn't good to begin with. You had a backup quarterback who, by the way, the interception Van Buren threw at the goal line was atrocious. Bauer Sharp was open, great play call. You're just not your 12 this was an atrocious offense. I mean, this was every bit as atrocious as any of the Les Miles offenses we saw with Harris or Jennings or Jefferson or any of those awful teams offensively. The thing about those teams, at least they had an identity. They would run the football. They played defense and special teams and field position. It was never fun to watch or aesthetically pleasing, but they had an identity. This team was just bad. They were just bad offensively. So nobody cares about the game. Talk about Kiffin. Got it. Let me say one thing really quickly. I chatted with my buddy Derek over at Gotlet Light Installers. They're done with all of their installs that they had pre-scheduled. The weather's still a little nice to where they can get a few more in. So if you would like, Gotlet Light Installers can take a few more. GotLitLights.com, GotLitLights.com. Again, we haven't even promoted in the last few episodes because they were out. But, I mean, they did our trees here in the back, the fence. They did our whole front. Beautiful. It's easy. They come. They set up their lights. It's beautiful for the season. When the season's over, they come, pack it up, haul it away. You do nothing. So GotLitLights.com, GotLitLights.com. I'm going to go ahead and assume that everybody just wants to talk about the Kiffin stuff. I'll tell you, I'm anticipating at any moment my phone could ring. Here's what I will I just got invited to do ESPN National. Okay, so at this point with Kiffin, I think there's some things that are pretty obvious. He's going to take the LSU job, right? He wants the LSU job. And I believe that has been verbally agreed upon for at least a week now. That's why there were such high levels of confidence last weekend, right, from the LSU perspective. But the caveat I always give you is it's never over till it is. And the concern from LSU all week was, it's holiday. His team is with him. All right. So they had to go through this week, hopes that he didn't get cold feet, and the emotion of the moment and being with his team and playing the Egg Bowl. And I think the real concern was a day ago when they played the Egg Bowl. Does he look around and go, man, we punched our ticket to the playoff. What am I doing? Of course I'm staying. When that didn't happen, I think all of the maybe trepidation that some LSU people probably had early in the day yesterday pivoted late into the evening and night last night to supreme confidence from LSU again, and reality setting in from the Ole Miss side that he was going to be gone. I think that's where everyone still stands today. Texas upsetting Texas A&M obviously keeps Ole Miss in play for the SEC championship game. So the game that's about to start here in the Iron Bowl, if Auburn upsets Alabama, which I would love to see, then Ole Miss makes the SEC championship game. And Lane Kiffin wants to coach the SEC championship game. Did you all see Nick Saban doing his stumping today on College Game Day for Lane? I mean, old Nick had his talking points, man. He had them talking points ready to go on College Game Day earlier today when he was talking about Lane Kiffin's decision. It's the thing that you've heard me say a ton, and a lot of people say a ton. Like, this is what Saban said on Game Day.
I think they should let Lane coach his team, number one. But I think Lane's decision is going to come down to one thing, and that thing is just what Marty said. Where is the place that I can recruit the best players? And I think, one of Lane's apprehensions is he's had to use the portal to build his team at Ole Miss each year. And at LSU, he probably could recruit better talent and then just supplement his team by need with the portal. And that's probably the dilemma that he has, as well as his loyalty to his team that he's coaching now, that he wants to be able to continue to coach. So it's a tough thing to have the right answer to.
So Saban is telling you exactly the thing that we've told you, because that's exactly what Lane's thinking, and that's why he's leaning to LSU. And everyone's asking, why would he leave? Well, your answer is there. But Nick is sitting there stumping for Lane to be able to coach his team. Say this again. It would be very easy. This would be a very easy decision if the calendar was different. Lane could coach his team and then leave whenever they lose in the playoff, which I think what'll happen is Ole Miss has a great chance to be the 5 seed. They'll host an opening round playoff game. They'll host an opening round playoff game, which I think they'll win against a G6 team, and then they'll go play in the quarters and probably lose. I think that's the ceiling for this Ole Miss team. Kiffin would, in another world, he would coach his team. When they lose, then he would leave and come to LSU. What's very clear throughout all of this is that Keith Carter, the AD, is not going to let Lane Kiffin coach his team in the playoff while he's working for LSU, nor should he. I agree with him on that. I put out a tweet a little while ago. Some people didn't necessarily agree with it. That's fine. My point has been Keith Carter is like, I don't care who Lane Kiffin does, what he does. Keith Carter is Lane Kiffin's boss. He's the one person who could put an end to this immediately. Now, Lane could if he left, but Lane doesn't want to leave. But Lane answers to Keith Carter. He is the athletic director. He is Lane Kiffin's boss. Keith Carter could have at any point put an end to this, but he won't, because he realizes he doesn't want to sabotage the greatest season that they've had in the history of Ole Miss. And as long as Lane Kiffin is there, they're better. But what do you do? And it's time to brass tacks. We're like, you got to make a decision, and he won't make a decision. And so this keeps lingering on and on and on. So Lane Kiffin, as I understand, yesterday when Texas won, expressed interest in waiting another day to see what happened with the Iron Bowl, was told no. The meeting that happened at 3, I was initially told was supposed to happen around noon. It was supposed to be this morning. And then it was like around lunchtime-ish. And then it got pushed back further, and they ended up meeting at 3 o'clock. And I have no idea. It's 6:22 if that meeting is still going on. I was told this was not supposed to be a very long meeting, but clearly it has become a very long meeting, because as soon as that's over and anything comes of it, it's going to leak. And maybe they're just sitting out there in Keith Carter's office watching the Iron Bowl to see what happens here. So to that extent, I don't know. I do believe very much that Lane Kiffin is going to be LSU's head coach. I believe he's expected to be in Baton Rouge tomorrow and introduced on Monday. I think that's always kind of been the plan with the early signing period on Wednesday. But I'll say it again, you have nothing binding. The MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, maybe they have one of those. Like, there's a lot of things they could have in place that are a commitment, but it's not binding. So without that, you can't really hold Lane Kiffin to anything. And similarly, you don't have a backup plan. So LSU has no leverage here. LSU's not moving on to their next candidate. They're number 2. LSU's number 2 was Eli Drinkwitz. Well, Eli Drinkwitz agreed to an extension with Missouri on Thanksgiving Day. Here's one interesting caveat that I will tell you. Drink, although he signed his new extension with Missouri, as I'm told, that extension with Missouri carries the exact same buyout as his previous deal. So he could, as I understand it, still leave and would be open to leaving for the right deal. But I think he would want Kiffin money. So you're going to pay Drink $12 million a year? If Kiffin gets cold feet and ultimately stays, you can fall back on Eli Drinkwitz and pull him away from Missouri for $12 million? Cool. After that, John Summerall has agreed with Florida. They were far down the road with Auburn, and apparently John Cohen mucked that up. And I'm going to tell you something, y'all. I would not be surprised. I don't know this for a fact. I'm not an Auburn beat writer. I don't cover Auburn every day. But just watch. If Auburn upsets Alabama, watch if John Cohen doesn't try to make DJ Durkin the permanent head coach. But the point being, from LSU's perspective, you're out of options. Like, you have been so all in on Lane Kiffin, right? That James Franklin's been hired. Clark Lee signed an extension. Drinkwitz signed an extension. Morris agreed to be the coach at Oklahoma State. Summerall's about to agree with Florida. I mean, look down the list. Like, your options are thinned out. So you got to be all in on Lane, and Lane knows it. So LSU has no leverage, but LSU is likely willing to sit there and wait for Lane. And they told him, as I understand, LSU told Lane from the beginning of this, you want to coach the playoff? Fine. We'll wait. Go coach your team in the playoff. We'll wait. He's their guy. They're all in on it. And knowing full well that Keith Carter doesn't want Lane to coach in the playoff if he's taking the LSU gig. So anyway, I'll tell you, this has been, from the Ole Miss side, a masterclass in indecision and lack of leadership. I am sympathetic to Keith Carter's position because he's in an impossible situation where, the greatest coach they've ever had wants to leave for a conference rival, but they're in the middle of their greatest season, and he doesn't want to sabotage their greatest season, but he also doesn't want his coach coaching for him while coaching LSU. So I get what an impossible situation that is, but you're the athletic director, you're the boss, you get paid to make decisions. Anybody watching right now, you own a company? Are you a manager, you a boss? It doesn't matter what you do professionally. You a manager, you a boss, you own a company? You ever have to make really crappy decisions? You ever have to choose between two not great options? You make a decision. That's what you get to be the boss. You're a firefighter. You put out fires all the time. Keith Carter, you want to be the AD at Ole Miss? Great. I'm sorry that Lane Kiffin put you in a bad situation. Make a decision. You want to let him coach the playoff? Yeah, let him coach the playoff. LSU's going to wait at whatever it costs. Missing the December signing period, missing the January portal period. They're waiting on Kiffin. They'll wait for it. You keep Frank in place. Oh, man. Man, wind keeps putting on my lighter. I need to get some more butane in there. Anyway, all right. If it wasn't for our defense, would have been worse. Not a believer in Michael Van Buren. You shouldn't be. It's the thing that I've said since fall camp. Van Buren has ability. There's times you'll see him make a pass or make the 23-yard run around the goal line. It was a beautiful play. Nuss can't make that play. There's elements. What, baby? Got it. There's plays he makes that are good, but he's not a good player right now. He's an inaccurate passer, as you saw. Like, people who thought that he was going to be a cure-all for this offense, like, clearly he was not. Van Buren in this game, 14 of 25 for 96 yards, a touchdown, an awful interception. What it is. Matt, you keep the receipts to the one said Van Buren was the fix. Listen, I'm not here to crap on Michael Van Buren. That's not. If you were the ones who were crapping on Nussmeier saying he was the problem, that's been my point. This is a bad offense. This is bad scheme. This is bad line play. This is bad everything. And Nussmeier was part of the problem. I can acknowledge that. But if you're saying he was the problem and you thought Van Buren was going to be the fix, that was my point all along, that he was not. Well, okay. You lost to good teams. Guess what? The expectation is you compete for championships. You're going to play good teams. You have to beat them. I don't think Van Buren will be the quarterback next year, but impossible to say without knowing definitively that Kiffin's coming. The Trinidad Chambliss thing would be fascinating because Chambliss is loyal to Lane Kiffin. I do not believe, from my understanding, I do not think Chambliss is loyal to Ole Miss. I think he's loyal to Lane Kiffin. And I wouldn't be surprised, based on some of the things I've heard, that Chambliss could even be one of the ones lobbying on Kiffin's behalf for him to be able to coach that team throughout the duration of the season. I mean, at this point, they might. Hard to argue the contrary. But I'll tell you, my feeling is when that meeting breaks, whatever comes of it, I mean, the first person Lane Kiffin's going to text is Chris Lowe. I mean, Lowe is, they have a good relationship, which is why, after whenever that Brett McMurphy piece earlier this week came out, where there was 80 media members or whatever that's made their prediction on where Kiffin would be coaching next year. When Lowe said Ole Miss, it sent a lot of people's antennas up, because Lowe and Kiffin. Worst O-line in 30 years, softest Charmin. Never heard of him. Does work. Does Drew. If we get Lane, offense won't be an issue anymore. That's true, and it's one of the reasons why I think you have to feel like you are going in on a specialist on one side of the ball, offense or defense. So look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense has been bad this year. They were good in the first month, probably a little bit of fool's gold, I would think here. We could assume now, it's safe to say. They have not been very good, but they're in the playoff in 10-2 because their defense and special teams were outstanding. And that's because as long as Brent Venables is there, they're always going to be good on defense. Praying Lane keeps Baker. I mean, I think the Baker scenario, there's a couple of Baker scenarios. One, provided Florida gets Summerall across the finish line, which it feels like that's a done deal. I have heard that Summerall would be interested in hiring Blake Baker as his DC. If/when Lane Kiffin becomes the LSU coach, he's going to bring Pete Golding with him, provided Pete Golding isn't the head coach at Ole Miss, which I do not believe that's going to be the case. My understanding is Ole Miss is pivoting to Alex Golish. So they're moving with the understanding that Lane is leaving. They tried to get back in on Summerall. Summerall's far down the road with Florida. I think that's going to happen. So Ole Miss, I think, is pivoting to Alex Golish. Might be the next on their list. So that means Pete Golding would be coming with Lane to LSU to be his defensive coordinator. I also think there's a possibility that Blake Baker could be the Tulane head coach with Summerall leaving. Remember, Blake Baker played at Tulane, and last year when Summerall was in the mix for the North Carolina job that they ultimately gave to Belichick, had Summerall left, I think had Summerall left, Baker was in the mix for that gig a year ago. All right, please smash the like button if you would subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post. Only thing that can make me care about LSU football right now is if Witt announces he's coming back and he's bringing Lane with him. Thanks for coming to the shit show, Matt. I think that I don't know. I've not asked Witt Weeks this personally. He was asked during media availability earlier this week. I don't think he's made a decision, but I think it would stand to reason NIL, rev share, and improving his draft stock. It would make a lot of sense for Witt to come back. So Saban helping Lane to LSU is his official apology to LSU. We forgive you, Nick. Don't in the least deny or doubt that is part of reality. Hang on, y'all probably still be able to hear me for a second. Hang on. Does work. Let's see. Oh, look at this guy. Matt, I said LSU grade before you called me. Fuck F stupid. Don't appreciate that. Well, you are. They went 7-5. Stupid. Come on. What's going on? What's going on with my freaking lighters? Oh. Whew. I'll do it. That'll do it. How about that? That'll do it. There we go. Now we're rolling. Tell you what, man. I never would have thought, watch it to his point, I never would have thought in a million years when LSU beat Clemson, walking off the field. Remember all the 1-0, the whole offseason about can you win an opener, and they go up there and they beat Clemson, top 10 matchup, everything, 17-10. If you would have told me this team's going 7-5 and firing Brian Kelly before November, I don't. There's not enough money in the world that I could have bet that wouldn't have happened. Lane to BR, go this way. Thank y'all, man. Appreciate the super chats. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Wish Nuss never got hit. Look, there was a lot about this season that was miserable. There's no other way around it, man. It sucks for Garrett Nussmeier getting hurt. It sucks for Whit Weeks getting hurt, missing a chunk of the season that he did. A guy like Jacobian Guillory coming back for his 6th year. Aaron Anderson getting hurt, missing the end of the season. There was just so much about this season that was miserable. It's just people have asked for a comp as far as, the expectation relative to what happened. And the one I keep going back to is 98. If you're old enough to remember, you will. There's probably people older than me that could probably recall some. 89 is another one. Tommy Hodson. I had the Hodson for Heisman poster as a kid, and they went sub 500 in that season. But 98, where you had senior quarterback Herb Tyler, senior running back Kevin Falk, senior Booger McFarland. I mean, they went 4-7. So sometimes just how it works. Lane wanting a North Texas, Oklahoma State situation. Yes. I'm getting text about my umbrella. Does that look like a phallus? Is that what that looks like? Is that the joke y'all are making about the phallic umbrella? Yes, Lane wants to coach his team into the playoff. But I understand. Listen, did y'all watch the Egg Bowl? If you watch the Egg Bowl, like if you watch the broadcast, the entire broadcast, while Ole Miss is playing their rival to finish off an 11-win regular season, first in history, and the whole broadcast, they're talking about Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. The whole broadcast. So Ole Miss will make the college football playoff. They'll be having a home football game. Biggest event in the history, not me saying it. These are people around those programs that are saying it would be the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. And the entire time, they'll be talking about your coach coaching for another program. Oh, by the way, he'll also spend the next month recruiting his roster to Baton Rouge. Recruiting for your rival? It's different when you're talking about North Texas and leaving North Texas and going to Oklahoma State, because one is a very clear and obvious step up. That's not uncommon. Going within the division against, one of your most hated rivals? No, can you imagine? Can you imagine if the LSU coach was leaving for Alabama and wanted to continue coaching you through the postseason? No shot. Do we for sure know Lane showed up for the meeting? Yes, Lane showed up for the meeting. Matt, you say Keith Carter's put a masterclass of indecision. In the next breath, you say he's in an impossible situation. If you were Keith, what would you do? I would have fired Lane. Well, not fired Lane Kiffin because you'd owe him a $36 million buyout, but I would tell him, you're not coaching anymore. If you want to leave, leave. If not, then sign your extension and stay. But you're not going to stay here and coach my team, our team, if you're going to another school. It sucks that's what the calendar has done, and hopefully they change the calendar so this can happen. And you could say it's easy for me to say, and it is. I'm sitting here in my outdoor kitchen smoking a cigar, drinking a whiskey, talking to you fine people. I'm not the one who has to sit in that room and make the decision. But guess what? Keith Carter's the athletic director. He gets paid to make the decision. So, man, make a decision. Like, Lane Kiffin clearly is not going to make the decision. Lane wants to keep coaching his team, as he should. I don't blame him. But he works for someone else, like you and I work for people, unless if you own your own thing. But if you're a manager, if you're a boss, if you're an owner of a company, you have to make hard decisions. I've had to fire people. It sucks. Nobody wants to fire anybody. Nobody wants to make awful decisions that affect people's lives. But you got to live with the results. That's what you sign up for, man. Like, you're the boss. Make a decision. Be a leader. If Perkins eligible to return it. Yes, but I do not believe he will. He went through senior day festivities. We actually had plenty of time to ride elevators, and we did. So my son Drew, I'm sure there's 3,800 people watching. Shout, I appreciate y'all. So my son Drew loves, he's a special needs kiddo. I think as a lot of you know. He loves to ride elevators. So every Saturday we go to Guarantee and ride the elevators. That's our thing. And so the Kiffin meeting was supposed to happen around noon. And so in the 11 a.m. window, I was a little skittish about taking Drew to go ride elevator. I didn't want this to break while we're, going up and down the elevator. But then it looked like the meeting got pushed back. So it did get pushed back. How come we never heard anything about Schumann, Hartline? LSU got their list together very quickly. And once they focused and listen, these are all things we talked about a month ago. I know this feels like it's been going on forever because it feels like it has, but Verge sought the counsel of people he trusted, among them Nick Saban. Nick said, you should hire Lane Kiffin. That was the recommendation of Verge, was to hire Lane Kiffin. And so Lane was pretty far down the path with Florida. Like, all of it. Dude, one day when all this is done, I'll tell you everything that's transpired over the last month. But for the sake of how things are still unfolding, I'm not going to do that yet. But all of the Florida people who thought they had a deal done were right 3 weeks ago. But their insistence that they were still in it was foolish, because everything pivoted that weekend when Layla Kiffin booked the trip to Baton Rouge, which happened on a Thursday. They were coming. She said they're coming on that Thursday. They were coming Monday, and that weekend is Sunday. They were in Gainesville. Monday they were in Baton Rouge. That weekend is when it was all the done deal stuff to Gainesville, and it wasn't, because she was coming to Baton Rouge on Monday, and they were very much in it. And that whole week started trending toward LSU. By the time we got to last Friday, and all the contract stuff leaked, I mean, Lane to LSU was verbally a done deal at that point. But it's never verbally. I think he was a done deal to Florida 2 weeks prior to that. Just like right now, John Sumrall thought he was a verbal to Auburn. Now Florida thinks John Sumrall's a verbal there, which he might be, and I think is. But until you got the ink dry on that contract, man, it ain't done. Every time my phone pings, I look expecting to hear an outcome of this meeting. Wayne, Roderick. No, I thought we get the 8.5 wins. I know. Keith allowing Lane to hold him hostage, telling everyone that he doesn't believe Ole Miss can win without him. It's part of it. Great coverage with Lane, LSU. Thank you for being there. Appreciate everybody. I bet Lane's a cold plunge guy. You need to do a cold as balls episode with Lane when he lands in BR. What's your reason to cold plunge every day? So if you've never looked up the science behind the cold plunge, do yourself a favor, check it out. I'm not going to bore everybody because I don't think that's why nearly 4,000 people are watching right now. But I'll tell you, as much as it sucks every day getting in that freezing cold water, 50-degree water, every day for 6 minutes, I know as much as those 6 minutes suck, mentally, it's mental fortitude to get over that feeling, to get in the water, and knowing the other 23 hours and 54 minutes of my day are going to be awesome because of how I start my day with that. You burn fat, you get mental clarity. I don't need to go and look up the science of it. It's amazing. It's the biohack that I'll do every day for the rest of my life. Stanley Booker made a great point. He said they're saying Lane wants to coach his team in the playoffs if he agrees to stay, and he can. He hasn't agreed. What does that tell you? He's leaving. Well, that's been the point all along. I mean, Stanley, he has had a contract. Lane has talked about how much he loves Oxford, how much he loves Ole Miss, how much Ole Miss meant to him at this point in his life, how he's gotten his life together. You know, he's reconciled with Layla, who moved there with their son, and like all the things that he loves. And they've had a contract extension on the table for 2 months to make him the highest paid coach in the country. He hasn't signed it. Actions speak louder than words, brother. Like, this has been obvious that he's leaving for 2 months. It was just a matter of where was he going? Florida, then now LSU. And he's still leaving. After all of this, man, they're in the playoff. They win the Egg Bowl. They beat their rival. All of this. He's leaving. He can't give them a straight answer about, is he coming back? Was it like, I mean, think about the contrast of all the, like, over and over we played these sound bites. Dan Lanning, who said, I'm not leaving Oregon. Point blank, not leaving. Kurt Signetti signed his extension. Matt Rule signed his extension. Mike Elko signed his extension. Like, and Lane's sitting there going, is he leaving? He wants to leave. He doesn't think he can win at the highest level there. And you're going to say, well, they're in the playoff. Yes, you can make a 12-team playoff. Can you win a national championship? I don't think so. Can you consistently do this there? I don't think so. You sign a deal. You mean sign an extension with Ole Miss and then sign with LSU? Meeting over. I was told, and listen, I know some of y'all say what you want. Do you think I have good information? I don't care. If this process hasn't revealed to you that I have good information in a lot of different places, then I can't help you. You make up your own mind. But I was told earlier today that meeting for 3 o'clock was supposed to be a quick meeting. So I think there have been some things that have transpired in that here's the tidbit. Here's the tidbit that I think Lane is lobbying for, that I think may come of this. Again, this is an opinion. I want to be very clear with that. I'm giving you my opinion. I'm not reporting anything. I'm giving you my opinion. Okay? Piecing together some things that I know about today and what's happened. I'm giving you an opinion. Very clearly telling you I'm not reporting fact. I'm giving you an opinion. Okay? I think that Ole Miss is considering letting Lane Kiffin coach in the SEC championship game if Auburn wins. So what they would do is put out a statement to say, Coach Kiffin has informed us that he's going to be leaving Ole Miss after the SEC championship game. And then he'd coach the SEC championship game and then leave. And then they'd promote Joe Judge. That's what I think is possibly in play, which I do not think was in play yesterday. But Ole Miss has never been to the SEC championship. And they want to make the SEC championship, which is just why this past week, when Keith Carter made the statement last Friday, letting Kiffin coach in the Egg Bowl, even though they know he's leaving, they're letting him coach in the Egg Bowl because they wanted to make sure they won that game so they clinched a playoff berth. Because if they lost that game and Lane's leaving, there's a chance it could have been out of the playoff. So they let him coach in the Egg Bowl, and they win. And so now there's a chance they could be in the SEC championship game. Do you really want to cut off your nose to spite your face? You got a chance to win the SEC championship and then possibly get a bye in the postseason. You really don't want Lane to get, like, that's what's going through Keith Carter's mind right now. So this has just been one of the most, of all the coaching searches that I've covered in a lot of different sports, man, Fourth football coaching search, LSU. Baseball, men's and women's basketball, all of them. I've never seen one like this, ever. By the way, Parish Construction and Roofing, I got Parish pinned in the chat. Roof repairs, replacements, soft wash. We do gutters. We fabricate our own metal. We'd love to help you out. Free, no obligation inspections, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Also, shout out to Gotlit Light Installers. Let me post Gotlit in the chat. So, my buddy Derek told me that they're done with all their installs that they have in the books, so they have a little time if you're interested. Now, they work in a 30-mile radius of Baton Rouge. But easy. They'll come, they'll bring their lights, set them up like the trees they did here, our back fence. Gotlit did all that. They come, they set it up, bring their lights. They did our whole front too, around the door, everything. Beautiful big tree in our front yards, gorgeous. They do an awesome job. And then when the season's over, they come take everything down, haul it away. Super easy. Gotlitlights.com, gotlitlights.com, gotlitlights.com. Hold on. Quit stepping my boy Muso's Got Lit Light. No. I endorsed Got Lit. And then Muso jumped in for Muso at the box. Okay. So don't think I'm sponsor poaching. Muso sponsor poached there. Which I'm good with, by the way. Gotlit's awesome. They do a great job. 10 out of 10 recommend. I'll use them for the rest of my life. For real. I'll never set up Christmas lights again. I'll just call them every year. If Lane comes, are we going to be doing this in 2 years if Bama wants him? It's a good question. It's a fair question. I don't know the answer. I do think it is fair to say, isn't this the guy who left Tennessee for USC and then went through the vagabond whole thing? But I'll say also, that was Nick Saban's MO his entire career. He could never plant his feet. He never stayed anywhere more than 5 years. He was always on the go looking for the next better until he landed at the spot where he could stay for 17 years and win 6 titles in 12 seasons and all that stuff. So ideally, if you're LSU, Lane at 50 years old becomes, for you, what Saban was to Bama. I'm not saying he'll win 6 and 12, but he's the guy that could stay for 15 years, right, and win a bunch of championships for you. Did Landry handpick Kiffin? No. Frank was soft this game. Sad. What do you think? I don't know that Frank was soft. You'd have to give me a little more context on why you'd think that. I don't think so. I think Frank Wilson did a hell of a job, y'all. I mean, walked into a miserable situation. Brian Kelly fired, all the expectations, all these one-year mercenaries, and not one player opted out. Not one player said, you know what? I'm off to the draft. By the way, Mansour Delane, I don't think people realize this. I just found this out this past Monday, that the core injury Delane's had, he's had that since fall camp. He's been managing it medically the entire season. So that dude became a Thorpe finalist with that core injury all year. Incredible. I mean, any one of these dudes at any point in this lost season could have been like, you know what? I'm out. I'm going to get ready for the draft. They all stayed. I think it's a huge credit to Frank. If we land Lane, does Matt jump in the pool? No, because I believe Lane Kiffin is coming to LSU. I mean, I believe that is as close to done as you can be without being ink dry standing at the podium. I mean, all of the events of the last 24 hours, if you haven't been following along throughout the entire thing, all the events of the last 24 hours should illustrate that to you. Are you in good with Marty at ESPN, the reporter camping outside the office? I am not. But I do know plenty of people who are boots on the ground in Oxford who are I'm asking for updates routinely. What if they lose the SEC championship and Lane leaves? I think that's. Oh, you mean what would happen to Ole Miss? Great question. Would they still be in the playoff? I don't know. That's a great question. That's a great question. I mean, I could look at last year with SMU losing the ACC championship and still getting in. So I think they would be in, but they're probably not hosting a playoff game. Do you agree Lane Kiffin's reputation will not take a hit if he commits to LSU? No, I think it will. And I think that really matters to him. I mean, y'all, that documentary they released before this season, that's like state-run media, right? Trying to rebuild Lane's image. And I understand it. I understand what he's doing. And that matters to some people and it doesn't matter to others. Matt, what if push comes to shove between Ole Miss and Kiffin? Who has the most leverage? Is there some type of verbiage that Ole Miss could reference? Yes. Thank you, Robbie. Good to see you, Robbie. Thank you, Robbie White. Good dude. Known Robbie a long time. Long time listener. Also great, good dude. Good family, good dude. So, good question. What I had explained to me is that Ole Miss does have within its contractual right the opportunity to tell Lane, you're not coaching. Meaning, like, we'll put you on paid leave or something like that. And he would not coach the team. And then ultimately, he would have no recourse but to just leave for LSU. But, again, Lane wants to coach his team. And Keith Carter, as long as they keep playing these meaningful games, want him to. And Keith has played this thing all along where instead of redirecting their coaching search, acknowledging Lane's leaving and going to find their next coach, I think they've continued to invest thinking Lane might have a change of heart and stay, which clearly is not the case. And it's left them vulnerable because Ole Miss now doesn't have a good option. Drinkwitz, signed at Missouri. Summerall, it looks certainly that he'll be at Florida. Clark Lee signed an extension. I mean, where do you go? What I heard today was Alex Golish would become the focus of their. So you're going to go hire the coach from South Florida? I mean, Golish was a coordinator at Tennessee under Heupel, and he's done well at South Florida. But, is that the thing that's going to get the Ole Miss people jacked? I mean, I don't cover Ole Miss, don't care about Ole Miss, don't like Ole Miss. I don't care. I prefer Ole Miss to stink. I'd prefer them go back to the Matt Luke Ole Miss days. LSU's going to play them every year. I'd rather them be the Matt Luke Ole Miss Rebels, not the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss Rebels. Good question. Spasley Poo. I would have told you when I woke up today that we would have had an answer by lunchtime. And clearly, Lane continues to delay, and they let him. That's why, I say it again, I understand Keith Carter has been put in a really tough situation. I get it. But he's the boss. Make a decision, man. Make up your mind. Make a decision. Because the longer this goes along, it's festering and it's toxic all the way around. Keith Carter seems like a good AD. I mean, he got Chris Beard there. He's overseen this era of football. I don't know what else really matters there, but for everything I hear, that he seems to be well-liked, good guy, done a good job. But this is the kind of thing where you look and say he feels like a weak leader. He feels like a guy who's allowed himself to be bullied in this situation by Lane and strung along. Waiting on the announcement is like being up 40 in the national championship with 5 minutes left on the clock. That's a really good analogy. Maybe up 21. Or 17, where you're like, we're up, we're comfortable. It would take a collapse of epic proportions for this to go the wrong way. But, but you're probably good. Who are y'all cheering for in Auburn, Bama? I'm going to tell y'all, and please smash 3,500 watching, love y'all. Please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. I look at a lot of things through two different lenses, right? There's Matt the fan, who really only my wife gets to see. What I'm like when I'm watching a game at the house or something like that. And then there's Matt, the radio host, who has to entertain. And I'm going to tell y'all what, if on Monday, Lane Kiffin is LSU's coach and Bama loses the Iron Bowl to an interim coach at Auburn, which costs them a spot in the SEC championship game and a spot in the college football playoff, I mean, that might be the most epic AFR ever. It might be. I pull a lot of times for interesting. Like, personally, my preference is John Summerall. My number one choice is Dan Lanning, who is not leaving Oregon. My preference, John Summerall. I wanted LSU to hire John Summerall, not Lane Kiffin. But Kiffin is going to be, win or lose, is going to be fascinating theater. I mean, everything we do will go up because of the interest level and everything he does. What's the difference between Kelly and Kiffin? Same talk if Kelly does this in Notre Dame, imagine do it at LSU. I'll tell you, that's a good question, Nick. That's a good question. I'll tell you what I believe is the difference, okay? And I'm not saying this is right, just an opinion, okay? Like, there's times where I'll tell you, like if I'm reporting something, I think that there's factual things. This is just an opinion. What I think is the difference is Brian Kelly came to LSU as the winningest active coach in college football, but he had never won in this era. Remember, Brian Kelly got hired in the end of November, beginning of December of 21. So NIL was 6 months old. And it hadn't yet become full-on pay-for-play what it became. And that's not what he wanted. Kiffin has done it in this era, this NIL portal era. Like, look at what he's done at Ole Miss, at a place without the resources of an LSU. That's what I think is the big difference. Now, the other thing that Nick Saban said today, which is so spot on, and I'll tell you that this is what Kiffin is thinking, and I've had this conversation with too many people over the last 2 weeks. Lane Kiffin thinks college football is going to revert to what it was pre-NIL, meaning you have your blue bloods and the traditional powers, because in this era, as it's been, a collective could fundraise and put $40 million on the table and say, go buy a roster. And you could go spend $200,000 for a backup lineman and $1.5 million for a quarterback or whatever, right? In the new era with the clearinghouse, you could put $40 million on the table. How are you going to get it through the clearinghouse? It doesn't matter if you have this commitment of funds. You have to have a plan to get deals done through the clearinghouse. And that's where the blue bloods, the brands, are going to elevate. Because LSU, this isn't an LSU, I get it, I'm wearing an LSU shirt, but this is just fact. LSU is a bigger brand than Ole Miss. Ole Miss people may not want to hear that, but it's a fact. Olivia Dunn and Angel Reese on the cover of SI, LSU is a bigger brand. I mean, Lolo Jones, Mondo Duplantis in track? Name Sha'Carri Richardson. Name me one internationally famous Ole Miss track star. I just named 3 right there from LSU. Flau'jae. I mean, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Shaq on the sidelines. Like, LSU's brand makes it sellable in a massive way. Please smash the like button, y'all. 3,500 watch. I don't know how many likes we have yet, but I'd appreciate it if you just take one quick second, hit the thumbs up. That's a tremendous help. If you could, and smash a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks for being there. All of our sponsors, got them scrolling here at the bottom. Parish Construction and Roofing, parishbuilt.com. Got Parish pinned in the chat. Would love it if you'd let us give you a free, no obligation roofing inspection anywhere in the state of Louisiana. And of course, Gotlit Light Installers, Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. Let me drop Bocock in here for y'all. Great gift idea. They have officially licensed cigars. So if you have a cigar smoker on your list, or great gifts for clients, get the officially licensed LSU cigars, get boxes of them, and use the code MAT15, MAT15, MAT15 for 15% off your order. Appreciate y'all, man. Go Tigers from Austin. You got it. Thanks for being there. Hey, Father JD Mathern, taking $5 from a man from the. I'll put it in my tithe tomorrow, Father. What? Does it work? I think that's the tough in between that he has right there. Close door, Drew. Close door. In your opinion, what is Lane's message to his new LSU team after all this drama? Honestly, man, I don't think his new LSU team is assembled. Like, look at this team. Nussmeier's gone. Thompson, Sharp, Berrien Brown, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas, Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Jamari Butler, Bernard Gooden, West Weeks, Mansour Delane, AJ Halsey, like Jacoby and Guillory. All these dudes are gone. They're gone, man. Like you're rebuilding a roster next year. Good question. Hang on. All right, meeting's over. Wow, 4-hour meeting. Meeting's over. It went 4 hours. Wow. Four hours. What in the world? If I get word out of what happened in this meeting, I got to shut this down immediately. Please go check out LouisianaSports.net. We'll have everything there at LouisianaSports.net. But all right, Lane Kiffin, Keith Carter meeting is over. Okay. Wow, 4-hour meeting. That's insane. I mean, from what was supposed to be a quick meeting this morning, then around lunchtime, I mean, maybe they're waiting to see what happens like it would stand to reason now, right, that they're waiting to see what happens in the Iron Bowl. That it would stand to reason. This is so dumb. Don't get into media, by the way. I don't recommend it. So I guess we watch the Iron Bowl and wait. I so desperately want Alabama to lose this game. Where would you be? Do you want, so Bama loses, they're out of SEC championship, out of the playoff. But maybe Lane Kiffin watch lasts another week. Or, he's coaching. I don't know that, by the way. That hasn't been disclosed. But I'm guessing now, right? Meeting's over. Nobody knows the substance of it, what they decided. Nobody's put out a statement or anything. Or do you want, if Bama wins, then I think this ends tonight. It would stand to reason, right? Anyway, all right. Meeting over, 4-hour meeting. Whew. Chances Trinidad comes with Lane. First of all, he's got to get another year of eligibility approved. But I think it's a good chance. His loyalty is to Lane. I don't think it's to Ole Miss. I think it's to Lane. But complicating that, the portal window starts January 2nd. So if Ole Miss wins their first round game, wins a quarterfinal game, either New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, they're into the semis beyond the portal window. Can you imagine? Can you imagine Ole Miss winning a quarterfinal game and the next day their quarterback going in the portal? Now, I guess he could still play. He could finish the season. But can you imagine? Crazy. Why do you think Kiffin wants a job at Bama to live in Saban's shadow? That's a great point. That's the point. And I think that's the thing, is he wants to come here to have that opportunity. You're right about the Kiffin effect. I'm a Florida fan. Didn't know who you were 3 weeks ago. Now listen to the great time. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm sorry, man, that feel bad for a lot of the Florida fans, man, because Florida media did them wrong, man. It's just a very inadequate job by the Florida media collectively to believe Kiffin was still in the mix for Florida after last Friday, because he was not. I'm telling you, after last Friday, Lane Kiffin was no longer in play at Florida. After last Friday. Not Black Friday, the Friday before. The day that Keith Carter put out that statement, Lane Kiffin was no longer in play at Florida that day. No matter what anybody over there would have you believe, he was no longer in play as of that day at Florida. You mentioned earlier Kiffin's family seemed divided about whether they're coming to Baton Rouge. Do you mind elaborating on that? No, I'm not going to do that. I think some things are pretty obvious. I mean, he's got a young son who's in high school. Probably don't want to leave his friends. His ex-wife, who moved to Oxford, was living in Manhattan Beach. Oxford's 18,000 people. I think. So maybe I am elaborating. I think it would be much easier for Layla to leave. Not quite as easy for Knox to leave. But I don't think I'm breaking any news there. I think that's just common sense. You got a family, right? Makes sense. A lot of you who are watching, like, this is where it's relatable, right? I'm sure there's a lot of you watching right now who've lived that. You've had to move for a job and you've had to pack up your family, your kids. Maybe you're you're in the military brats who move all over. Like, that's not easy. There's a lot. You don't have to be a coach for that to be relatable. I think a lot of people who have families can relate to that. I mean, Um, I want to say that like my brother and his wife just moved. He took a job at Notre Dame, just moved to South Bend. I mean, that's not easy. You know, they have 4 kids, and they're doing awesome up there, which I'm fired up for. But I think it was probably easier for the younger kids, maybe harder for the older kids. I don't know. My sister, her husband works for Honeywell. He got transferred to, he's a military guy, so he's doing military stuff for Honeywell, and they got transferred to Kansas City a few years back. So they packed up and moved there. Like, you know, it's hard. It's a hard thing for families to do. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. I'm going to take these as they come in. Does the fact the meeting went long not bode well for LSU? I don't think that's the case at all. Never thought I'd say this. Go Bama. Want to be over no more Kiffin watch. I take a long meeting. He's leaving. They were discussing off ramp. I think that's a big part of it. And I do think maybe there were other considerations. Like, haven't been able to confirm this, but it sounds like maybe there were some players that had their feelings known in this meeting as well. I don't want to say names. I'm not exactly sure to what degree or extent, so I don't want to say any more. But at a few different people mentioned to me that maybe there were some players letting their feelings known about this meeting, which makes sense, right? I mean, the players on the team probably want them to coach the team. I mean, they're going to be in the playoff. They're potentially in the SEC championship game. So. I'm going to tell you all this, though, man. If somehow, some way, I don't think it's going to happen, but if somehow, some way, LSU lets Lane off the hook and he ends up staying at Ole Miss, LSU's in a pickle, y'all. They are in a real bind because your options then become you go back to Eli Drinkwitz and pay him $12 million a year, which LSU fans would melt. I don't know any contingent of the LSU fan base that would be excited about Eli Drinkwitz, especially now after being teased with Kiffin for this long. And by the way, I don't think it's going to happen. Or do you promote Baker? I think the summer will Oh. All right. Does Kiffin coach his son in college? I have no idea. Don't know. What I do know to that extent that I can tell you just from LSU's perspective is with Knox that LSU did everything right in this situation. They tilled the soil to dot every I, cross every T to make sure a transition for the Kiffin family would be as smooth as possible, including LSU representatives making sure that they checked with the LHSAA about eligibility requirements and all that stuff to make sure eligibility requirements about, because there's whole things about, like, let's say hypothetically, if Knox goes to U High, which I think is a pretty logical assumption, right? I mean, his dad would be working on campus and whatever. If Knox goes to U High, Like, do you have to live in the district? I'm a little unclear on the LHSAA rules, but as I understand it, there's some rule where, like, if you're the child of like an LSU employee, then you don't have to live in the district. I need to get clarity. I don't want to speak out of turn. But anyway, my point is they've had those conversations. LSU's done everything to make sure all of the potential hurdles are cleared. Contract, roster, staff, family, everything. LSU's done everything that there's, and they've made it clear to Lane from the beginning, like, you can coach through the playoff. Like, LSU would wait. They've made this clear to Lane that they would wait through the end of the playoff for him. Like, he is their all-in number one choice. And so that's why LSU has impressed to say we need a decision by Friday or whatever, because LSU is just going to wait for it. I think the expectation is they think Lane should be here tomorrow, Sunday. But it'll be fascinating based on what happens here, right, with this game. If Auburn wins and Lane wants to, and Ole Miss says, okay, he can coach the SEC championship, you wait another week? Maybe. LSU's killing DePaul in the Emerald Coast Classic. Good. Love that. Ole Miss fans mad at your last tweet. I don't care. Like, and I expect. So my tweet was about Keith Carter and his indecision. And I don't care if they're mad, because I get it. Ole Miss fans forever, for all eternity, are going to be furious at Lane Kiffin. He will be persona non grata. I mean, he will be public enemy. Catch the ball, son. What are we doing? Auburn almost had a pick. In his belly, catch the ball. Come on, 16. Dang, 16. Anyway, yeah, like, they will hate Lane Kiffin forever, and they should. They're right to. I'm not mad at Ole Miss people at all for that. But it also makes sense. They're going to be ticked at Lane Kiffin for leaving them. But I can sit back objectively and say, like, I don't care what happens to Ole Miss football. I can sit back and say, this charade, this whole spectacle has gone on when there's two people that could have ended. Lane Kiffin could have said at any point, I'm leaving, but he doesn't want to. But his boss won't make him make a decision. So that's on Keith Carter, because he's the one that could say, we need a decision. Or he could lay out a plan to say, we're going to let him coach the remainder of the season or whatever, and he won't do it. Any chance Lane gets cold feet? Man, I'll tell you, the opportunity for cold feet to come into play for Lane was yesterday. He gets caught up in the emotion of the Egg Bowl and his team making the playoff, and they're holding the Egg Bowl trophy, and they're excited, and he's celebrating. Like, that was the opportunity. And what did he do in the post-game press conference? Jeez. Let's see. Lane better be in a purple visor by the time the Cigars fit. We're close, man. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to get you an AI Lane in a purple visor. That could probably happen. Let's see. If Kiffin decides to stay, do you think we're out of this? Yes. Yes. I do not think John Summerall is coming to LSU. That ship has sailed. I think John Summerall smartly has a bird in hand with Florida and is going to take it. He was very much a heavy lean to Auburn, and I think was going to take that job. And all the word out of Auburn is that John Cohen is pushing so hard on DJ Durkin, and once wanted them to retain Durkin as a DC, and that's one of the reasons Drinkwitz was like, yeah, never mind. Drink was like, no thanks, and Summerall too. So I think then Florida got heavy in the mix for Summerall. I believe they have an agreement in place. What? Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. It does work. But yes, I do not think John Summerall will be the LSU coach. I don't think there's any way that happens. I think tomorrow Summerall will be announced at Florida. So Tulane's playing right now. I think that, and then I think he thinks earlier today I was told that Summerall believes contractually he has an in to coach Tulane in the playoff if they make it. I don't know what Florida feels about that, if they would let him, all that sort of stuff. But I do think like the LSU Summerall thing is as of now, I don't see a path for that. I guess the Florida thing could blow up. I mean, there's like Florida fans have started a petition not to hire Summerall, which is crazy to me. But anyway. Let's see. Sorry, this is one time I'm rooting for Alabama. One Kiffin. Sagging over. Don't want to wait another week. I don't know, dude. I think Kiffin's coming no matter what. If it's another week, it's another week. I would just love for Bama to lose this game and to be out of the playoff and everything. Hey, we got a Sooner in here. Shout out. Matt, take one for the team. Root for Alabama. Nope. Not doing it. Refuse. How about a 7-5 season for the Tigers, man? Jesus, 7-5. You let them convert a 3rd and 14 with a 30-yarder. A 35-yard punt return. How about on that drive where you're at the 22 on 2nd and 9, you try the reverse and you fumble, you get 3rd and 27, then a delay a game for 3rd and 32, and you have to kick the long field goal. Shout out Damian Ramos, great career. Didn't Ramos end up LSU's all-time leading scorer? Incredible. This thing is, my phone won't stop pinging. All right. Please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel. Facebook, like the page, share the post, like the page, share the post. Any more? Let me see if we get the last few comments in here. I am going to go record a Locked On LSU, so I'd hope y'all would listen, subscribe, all that good stuff. 3,600 people watching live. Appreciate y'all. Please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Remember, Parish Construction and Roofing would love to give you that free, no obligation roofing inspection anywhere in Louisiana. Repairs, replacements, commercial, residential. We do gutters, soft wash. We can soft wash your roof, the whole front of your house, your hardscape, make your home look beautiful here. Before the holidays, parishbuilt.com. Got it pinned in the chat. Gotlit Light Installers. Another reminder from my buddy Derek over at Gotlit. Derek Cal, the whole Gotlit crew. They're awesome. They'll They'll come and put your lights. They did our back lights, the trees, the fence, our whole front, everything. They bring their lights. They install them. Season's over. They come get them, haul them away. Turnkey, awesome. GotLitLights.com, GotLitLights.com, GotLitLights.com. And then Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. If you got a cigar smoker on your holiday Christmas list, BocockBrothers.com, code Matt15. They have officially licensed LSU cigars, which are awesome. Come in the decorative boxes. Check them out. BocockBrothers.com, BocockBrothers.com. Come on, Auburn. You pay for your question at the front. So that's called a super chat. Yes. So like there's people that do a super chat. See where it says like $4.99 right there? They paid $4.99 for theirs to be in bold. You can do whatever you want. It's kind of like a tip jar, so to speak. But you don't have to do that. Validity to LSU pushing for announcement? No, not that I've heard anyway. LSU made it clear to Kiffin from the beginning that they would wait. And at this point, for LSU, there is no sense in upsetting the apple cart because you have no leverage. Like, if LSU tells Kiffin, we need an announcement tonight or we're moving on, what are you moving on to? Please tell me. What are you moving on to? There is no other candidate out there right now that's waiting for your decision. Summerall's, I think, going to Florida. Clark Lee signed an extension. Drinkwitz signed an extension. What do you like? What are you waiting on? Like, what are you pushing for? So no, I mean, it's LSU has been all in on Kiffin, and so anyway, holding the three here, holding the three. Because I don't want Alabama in the SEC championship game or the playoff. And I think Kiffin's coming no matter what. Uh, 2.2 million engagements about Carter and Will. That's true. It's a fact. Like the one, and I get it. Like I'm certain what's happened with that is it's just Ole Miss people. I haven't looked at my Twitter, but I'm sure that's just Ole Miss people crapping on me. And I don't care. Like from their perspective, Lane Kiffin will be the most vile curse word in Oxford for all eternity. I get it. This is all Kiffin's fault in their mind. But the one person, Kiffin's not going to end it. The one person who has the autonomy to do so is Keith Carter, and he won't. I've answered this one a ton. I don't think there's going to be no. I think Pete Golding would come if Pete Golding doesn't get the head coaching job at Ole Miss, which he won't. I think he'll come with Lane to be his DC at LSU. I think Baker, as I understand, Summerall has interest in Baker. I think Summerall has interest in Baker at Florida. And I think there's a chance Summerall goes to Florida. Baker is in the mix for the head coaching job at Tulane. No. Idiot. Yeah, right. How do you think I get good information? You're right. Van Buren's not the guy. Next year's quarterback's not on the roster. Y'all, like, I'm not a football savant. I get plenty of wrong when talking about football, right? That's just nature of it. Like, yeah, you have opinions, you make picks. You watch football, I watch football, we watch football. We have conversations and make predictions, opinions. Like, sometimes my stuff is rooted in things that I know from really smart people who tell me things. Sometimes with Kiffin stuff, it's information that I know what's happening. If all of you could have gone and watched 20 hours of fall camp like I did and seen Michael Van Buren, you would have gone, does some nice stuff. Yeah. Got some ability, some in there, but not now. This is one. That's the point. Like, people are saying, oh, Kiffin's trolling. No, he's not. Like, he wouldn't have gone through all of this over the past 2 months with an extension on the table if he planned to stay. All right. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. On the way out, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post, all that stuff. Please support all of our great sponsors. Parish Construction Roofing, Gotlit Light Installers, Bocock Brothers Premium Cigars. Everything is linked in the description on YouTube. I'll get everything tagged on Facebook as well. I've been posting the links in the chat. Would love it if you guys could help them out. Bocock Brothers, use the code MAT15, MAT15, for 15% off your order. Gotlit Light Installers, GotlitLights.com. I'll get that as well. Remember, 30-mile radius of BR for Gotlit. Turnkey, awesome people. Check them out. I'm going to go do, just for a heads up, I'm going to go do a Locked On episode. Look at this. Love this. We'll hit the Botox thing. That's all good. You don't do cigars. That's fine. So the Bocox thing is unique aesthetics and wellness. Unique aesthetics and wellness. I'll post that in here. $8 a unit Botox, everyday price. So, gents, tell your ladies if they want that, give them a gift card to Unique Aesthetics and Wellness. $8 unit Botox. That's not like an introductory offer. It's not a special. It's an everyday price. Check them out. Unique Aesthetics and Wellness. All right. I'm going to go record Locked On. I'm going to be up all night. I have to do a hit at 11 p.m. on ESPN Radio National. If we get something at the end of the Iron Bowl, I'll go live probably on my Locked On channel if we have an announcement at the end of the Iron Bowl. But yes, the text line, if we get anything, it'll be on the text line. So 225-396-4400, 225-396-4400. That's my text line. What's the chance we get Austin Thomas as Saints GM? I'd be here for it, man. I'd love it. All right. Thanks for watching. Go Tigers. Y'all have an awesome night.